Hello guys, welcome back to another Casual Code video. So in today's video, I've gone ahead and revamped my old objective system because I've seen a lot of issues with it and I feel bad for you guys still using it. If you are unaware, the objective system is one of the videos on my channel that has done the absolute best, but it is kind of bad code. So I've gone ahead and revamped the entire thing and given it more functionality so that you guys have a better objective system inside of your Roblox games. So to download this system, we're going to go through it real quick, but to download the system, you can find it in the description, either by going to the Discord server and then going into the tab called free models, and then there's going to be a thing called objective in there. It's also going to be in announcements if you're coming directly after this video is made. And then further down in the description, or further up, I don't know where I'll place it, there's going to be a link to a Roblox where you can just download it on the market or store, whatever you want to call it, and then insert it via the toolbox. But either way, how you do it, what you are going to see in your game is that when you go ahead and plunk it into your if you go from the toolbox, it's going to go directly into workspace, but if you downloaded the file, it's going to be a .rbxm file, which means it's a Roblox model file. You just want to take the file and then drag it over here into a workspace. So now that you have this in here, if you see this folder in here, that means you've done it correctly. Any help with this system you can get on my Discord server. You can go into side scripting help and post your problem. You can also ping me, whatever, and then we can sort your system out. But within this system, we're quickly going to go through it. There is a .readme file, which is just if you're downloading this not by watching the video, you might have come to the video because of this .readme. And then there's the main folder up here, which has everything inside, and then these folders. And it's probably not your first time seeing this look with the different names on it. So what we do is we basically just grab every single one, and then we start putting them into their positions. So replicated storage goes into that one, and then you put them all in like where they have to be. So just like this. There we go. So now that all them are in the system, we're gonna delete the main folder. And then we're gonna take each of these folders and then press ungroup, and you're gonna see a few different scripts here. So there are some few key things to take note of. First of all, the actual system is within this these two module scripts right here. There is an easy objective, which is the actual module of the objective. This is how it works. It's the functionality right here. And then inside of here, there is a config where there's a few options you can go ahead and change. And you'll see all this in just a second. But starting off with the easy objectives, the way that module scripts work is that when you then do this code, you'd have to require this code within another script and then run it. So for one of the examples, I have a small leader start script here as well, which is just you could delete this if you already have your own, but this is just purely for testing purposes. Then I have my UI, which is invisible for now, but the UI you can go ahead and make visible by pressing on the frame here, holding, and then you can change the background transparency to 0, and then you can change the transparency in these two as well. But it is just 0 so that it's going to be always invisible. And then we have the actual script, which loads up all of the code from the easy objectives and then makes them run. This code up here above this line, you do not want to change. You only change code under this line. If you change any code up here, it might break the whole system. So don't go ahead and do that. Same thing goes for this. Don't change any code within this unless you know what you're doing, which I assume quite a lot of you guys do not at this point, but that's fine. The leader stats, again, you can do whatever you want with this, but basically in here, we have our objective client, and then the first thing we're doing is we're making everything load in. There might be a bunch of code on the screen, but it's really not that hard. And then basically we're setting this variable objective text label 1 to be equals to our easy objectives module, which we got up here, by requiring it within replicated storage. And then when it's required, you can use all the functions within. So we use the function called make new objective, and this is the important part. So within this string is right here is where is what you want your objective text to be, so actual text showing up for the objective. And then the sound over here is the sound that you want, the sound, like if you wanted to play anything when you get an objective. You can also just change this to a bunch of zeros if you do not want that. and it's just gonna only show this text. And then yeah, so it's gonna show the text, and then what happens inside of here when we make a new objective is we make sure what's it called, we just basically we get the new objective here, and then we return the text label so that we can use it further down here for when we've completed the quest or the objective, whatever you want to call it. And then we're basically calling this send new objective, which we're sending this objective over to this script, which then does some functionality here. So it basically loads in the sound that you gave it, and then it sets the volume to whatever the config sets. So again, all these options, how fast the tweens are, what colors on the text, how loud the audios are, stuff like this you can change within here. You can also change the easing style and the easing direction for the fades when it tweens out. And then basically it does the iconic loop here that I used in the first objective system as well, where it loops or it fades in the actual text for the objective. So it fades in everything on your screen so that you can see all your objective stuff. And then it waits a small wait until it's fully loaded in. And then basically this section is the typewriter effect, so that it's gonna like manually type out each piece within the objective text, and then it's going to play the soundwrite text. And that's basically all for making the actual objective. So at that point you would have an objective up on your screen, and then we have a function for when you complete the objective, but this one is not going to run on its own within objective client. Once you have made your objective, it's going to be called, in my case it's going to be called objective text label 1. Then what you do is you run the same module again, and you put the .complete new objective, and then you pass in the label. So this was the variable from the make new objective. So we're basically passing in which objective we've completed, and then we pass in a new sound effect for the sound when you've completed it. And then down here we're just making a second objective afterwards. But this right here is what you need to make your objectives. You can not you don't have to read this, but like you just make an objective, give it a text, give it a sound number, and then once you've completed your objective, which in this case is just going to do after 5 seconds, then you pass in the variable from up here, and you pass in a completed sound effect. And basically what this is going to look like in game is that you have it fades in, does its stuff here, then waits 5 seconds until it's completed, turns green like that. You see the text fades green, and then it fades away, and then it's going to come up here and say again that it is now our second objective. There we go. And then it's going to fade green again and then disappear like we did with the first one. So everything works fine. That is basically how you want to do objectives. But then you're probably going to be asking me, okay, well, how do I do this system and use it with a few different events instead of just waiting 5 seconds? Because the simple solution would just be to wait 5 seconds. But initially, when you're making an actual game, you want it to be when something specific happens, you want to run or complete the objective. So I've gone ahead and made a few examples for you down here with all this commented code. So you can go ahead and comment this code for now. If you hover over it all and go to script and then toggle comment, that means this code will not run. And then we can start by using this example right here. So basically what this example is a simple touch function, which is the way we did with the version 1. So basically what you are going to need for this one, if you want to run this one, is inside of workspace you add a part, and then right here you can scale it up if you want. But just add a part. I'm going to turn that off, and then I'm going to put anchor to true, can collide to false, and then you want to rename it exactly touch part, just like that. Touch with capital T and then part with capital P. That is all you need to do for this. So now that we have our part, we set a debounce, and then we initially just check if the player or whatever hits the part is the player, and if there's not a debounce, if that is true, then we add the debounce, and then we run the objective down here, and then we end up destroying the part and taking off the debounce. So basically what happens here is that you see there's not any objective come up on my screen, but when I go ahead and touch the part, it is going to play my objective. And then it's going to complete it after 5 seconds and then fade away. And then it's going to also play the second one like before. So that is how you bind up making a new objective on a touch bar. But then you might be asking me, okay, well, how do I make it so that when something specific happens with, for example, my money in game, then you have completed the objective. But for that one, I've made a third and last example of how you would implement this inside of your game. So this is the longest one. So basically, same thing as before, we have a touch part and we have our leader stats, which is inside service script stores. If this one is not enabled, then make sure it is enabled. And then we have our increment, is basically how much money we wanted to increase with before the quest is done. So first of all, we have this touch part so that if we touch the part, it's going to give us the money. This is just to show you that just to give you an example of how it will work. So you would probably not have this in your game. You would have other ways of giving the player money. But basically what happens down here is we play the first objective, which is called make increment money. So in this case, make 10 money and then play a sound. So if we go ahead and play this, as you can see, it's going to say make 10 money. And then basically what happens afterwards is that we get this get property change signal, which basically means that whenever the value, so whenever whatever we pass in here has changed, then it's going to fire that event. So whenever the value of our EXP, so our money here, or whatever you want to call it, has changed, then we connect that to a function and then we can run this code within. So then we're getting the new value down here. Up here we're getting our old value, so this is before the money has changed. So this is our new value here. We say if the new value is more or equals to the old value plus the increment. So if you had 10 money before and you now have 20, then it would run. But if you had 10 money before and you now have 25, then it will still run because you made enough money. Then it's going to set the new value of this, or the old value here, to the new value because we got a newer number of money. And then it's going to run the completed event based off this. So how that looks in game is when I touch this part and get my 10 money, it turns green because we completed the objective, and then it's going to fade away. So this is just 3 examples of how you can use this. You can bind this up with anything as long as you stick to the simple principle. I'm going to comment this again, to the simple principle of loading the actual objective. So any event works as long as you run this one first, where you make the objective and then you do whatever you need in your event, and then you run the complete new objective down here. As long as you run these two, you don't even need this task away, but as long as you run these 2 thingies here within your event, then it is going to work and you can pass in anything. As you can see, I passed in here a string and then a number and then a string. So as long as you concatenate the string correctly, then you can pass numbers in it as well. You can pass anything in it as long as it's concatenated with the string. So this is all for the V2. It is a lot more reliable than the V1. So if you're coming from the version 1 video, or if you have got it on your recommended, then make sure to implement this instead, because it's just newer, fresher code. It's a lot more readable than my old code because within the last year, I have improved encoding as well. So yeah. Inside of config, change any number you want. You can change the colors right here just by like going on this one. And then you can change the completed color as well. And then you can change the volume of the sounds. You can change how long there should be a delay between the fading. You can change how long the time write interval should be. So how much time should pass within the time write. If you want a slower time write, you want to increase this number so that the interval is higher. You can change how long the tween should be, of the things fading in, of the colors fading and stuff. So yeah, it's really, really usable. I'm gonna stop talking now, but yeah, it's going to be on my Discord server and it's going to be on the Roblox market. Either way works, just make sure you use the 2 functions which I showed. But yeah, thanks for watching another Cash to Code video, and I will see you on the next one. Later.